Etienne Bonnat de Condillac. Condillac was an empiricist since he believed that the human knowledge was gained through the sensual experience. Condillac was born into a high-class family and received an extensive religious education. However, he had no desire to join the church and even argued against their concrete principles. Condillac eventually discovered that his heart was in the study of empirical philosophy and even made it a personal project to translate one of John Locke's works into French. While many of Locke's studies became the cornerstone for Condillac's philosophy, he believed that Locke attributed too much of the human knowledge to the powers of the mind, instead of their true source, the sensual experience. To help illustrate this point, he used the idea of a sentient statue. In order to fully describe how knowledge is gained through the sensual experience, Condillac used the idea of a sentient statue to illustrate his point of view. Condillac argued that it was not the mind, as many had suggested before him, rather the senses that caused man to develop an understanding of both himself and the world. Instead of trying to explain the interactions and importance of each sense, he simplified the illustration by selecting only one sense to which the statue would be able to use to interpret its surroundings. This was the sense of smell. And it was through this one sense that Condillac's statue established an understanding of pain and pleasure. Had the statue been able to directly interact with its world, the concept of pain and pleasure would have been the sole driving force behind every decision and action. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. This quote by William Shakespeare describes how Condillac felt about the human experience. It is not the labels that describe a thing, rather our sensual interpretations. Condillac proposed that it was not the mind through which humans learn to interpret their world, merely one's senses. Pain and pleasure. For most people, these two images bring up memories of putrid odors and sweet aromas. They also cause us to feel differently. They cause particular physiological responses. A person smelling a skunk will wrinkle their face in disgust as their body tenses and they try to escape. While a rose, for most people, brings a calm smile to one's facial features and causes them to relax. Two forms of memory recall. Condillac proposed that there were two forms of memory recall: retrieval, a linear chronological process, and imagination, the process of memory recall that allows the individual the freedom of which memories to remember, and sometimes based on external stimuli. It is the process of imagination that the statue could focus on remembering certain smells and not others. Smells that the statue despised would cause the statue to feel or experience fear at the thought of its return, while the pleasant smells would inspire hope that they might return. Through the illustration of the statue, Condillac emphasized the importance of basic senses in developing a foundation for the concept of pain and pleasure. This concept is the driving force behind every human action. It was not just the ability to smell that allowed the statue to develop this concept, but its ability to remember and compare each smell for further reference. After many sensual experiences, the statue would eventually be able to categorize other sweet smells with that of the rose and draw upon those memories in order to remember the pleasant feelings. Through this process, the statue would develop a sense of self or personality based on its preferences. In short, human thoughts and feelings are nothing more than a simple compilation of sensual experiences.